Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
How's it going, Luke?
good.
Long time no see.
Yes,
Hi,
sir.
Anjali. How's it going, Amir?
Hi.
You can wave hi. Okay, awesome. All right. So we're gonna have a guest. 1 second. We're gonna wait for our guest to show up. His name is Ricky. So until then, everyone's gonna be popping in and getting situated.
It's a lot of Chelsea.
How's it going, Henry?
Good. What is this? I have a question.
What's your question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's this speech going to be about?
So he's gonna talk about being happy. And my friend Ricky, he's on a mission to solve the world's happiness problem. So he does it in a little bit of a different way that I think will help a lot of players have the right mindset to training, to improving. So he's going to get on right at 2 o'clock. And until then, I know my friend Ricky. Hey, Trent. I know my friend Ricky is going to want to ask everyone to turn on their videos. So if you can, let's get our videos on. And this is just like practice. If you want to show up to practice, hey, Colin, if you want to show up to practice and just get through it, you can. So if you don't want to participate, there is no pressure to participate, okay? But if you go to practice and you participate, you're going to get more out of it, right? So when Ricky jumps on, there's no pressure to, but I'm going to encourage everyone to participate if they can. So sorry if 1 second I'm just having to admit everyone into the call. Make sure everyone is situated. And then when you're in, if you can, I know my friend Ricky is going to ask everyone to put their videos on, so you don't have to unmute yourself. And then for a big group like this, once we get started, make sure you're in speaker view. And then if you have any questions during my friend Ricky's talk, I want you to either write down your question with a pen and paper, or in the chat, you can type in your question in the chat. Okay. So welcome everyone to just joining in now. We're waiting for Ricky. And until then, just make sure your video is on and you're all muted. How's it going, Thomas? Okay, awesome. So if you have a question that is like urgent to what he's talking about right now, you can put your hand up like this. And if he wants, he'll tell me your name and I'll unclick you to be able to talk. But until then, if you can, just put your questions in the chat for him. So my friend Ricky and I are lucky enough to be in the same mastermind together. And in this mastermind, we're able to meet a lot of great, amazing people from all over the world. And my friend Ricky, he does consulting for big companies like Costco or Lululemon, that yoga company. So we're really lucky to have him join us today. And I'm just admitting everyone to the call now. And Ricky's on a mission to solve the world's happiness problem. So he talks a lot about gratitude and confidence and mindset and how we're going to use these things as a tool for us athletes to be able to go to the next level. So with no further ado, let me pin my friend Ricky here. So before Ricky gets started, I want all my players especially to make sure you guys are taking notes, because when we have our talk one-on-one, this is what we're going to be going over. But everyone else, if you guys have questions, either write them down or write them in the chat. And then there's going to be some time at the end for us to ask Ricky any kind of question, whether it's about soccer or just general mindset and happiness and gratitude. So how are you, Ricky?
Awesome. How are you guys?
We're doing great. So we're just telling everyone that if they have a question, to just keep keep it in the chat or keep it written down for the end. And if it's something super pressing, maybe they can just raise their hand. And if you see them, you can just say their name and I can unmute them. And then if you guys want to clap, since we're all muted and we can't actually hear if you guys do this, what we do is we put our hands up like this and we kind of give them a shake. So if there's something Ricky's saying that you really like, go ahead and show them your support. So without any further ado, I'm so excited and I'll be taking notes as well. My friend Ricky Mendez.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I am honored and I am excited to not only teach but to learn from you guys too. There's a phrase that I love, and it's when one teaches to learn. And I think that we can all adapt to that. And I don't think you don't have to be a certain age to do that, because the coolest thing about being not only your guys' age and your girls' age is that you guys get to be the eternal optimists. Now, does there anybody on the call that knows what optimism means? Maybe give your hand a raise, or maybe give me a wave or anything. Or David, if you see anybody, does anybody know what optimism? I see Trent with the background of the Golden Gate Bridge. If you can unmute him, or Trent, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Can you tell me what you think optimism means?
Optimism means like being always positive.
Always positive. I love that. And I love that because that is just a very easy, great definition of optimism. And Trent is exactly right. Optimism, it doesn't mean that life doesn't have its challenges. It doesn't mean that life isn't hard sometimes. But what it does mean is that we continue on the path of our goals and dreams, even when life does get a little challenging. So thank you, Trent. That was a great definition, and I love your background too. So yes, my name is Ricky, and I believe that our minds, our brains, our minds are the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force that the world has ever known. And a lot of times we get in these situations where we're kind of bummed out, or we're kind of sad, or something bad happens. And now we're in we call it a state of mind that doesn't really serve us. But now we can use our minds to reframe things and look at things in a different way, a different perspective. Now, when we do this, I'm going to show you guys how to do it not only in your sports career, but also in your life. And when we do this on a consistent basis, people will rally around us to be able to help us, and people will want to be around us because we do what Trent just said. We find a way to stay positive. Okay, now, when we go through this, we're going to have our setbacks, and that's okay. That happens. I want people to write this down. Our setbacks are a set up, okay? It's a really simple phrase. Our setbacks are simply a set up. And what I mean by that is when we do have challenges, I've had plenty of challenges, and if there's a Jason Aquilante on the phone, I see him, that's my dear college friend from college, and I played baseball with Jason. Can everybody give Jason one of these? Everybody give Jason, hi Jason. So he's known me for a long time, and I've had a number of different setbacks, but we can use these setbacks to create a set up and to be able to set up a future success rate, or a future what I call runway. And when we do this, we exercise what I think is the greatest muscle, which is persistence. So there's one thing that I look for, whether I'm investing in a business or investing in a teammate or playing a sport or building a business or starting a business or hiring people in my business. And it's one trait: perseverance, okay? Perseverance is one of the most important things, in my opinion, what we can do in life, not only just in athletics, but in our lives, for us, our families, the people that we love, so we can continue on the path of our goals and dreams. I would take somebody who is dedicated to persistence and perseverance over somebody that's talented any day. The person who's persistent and perseverance, I want to be around that person because I know I'm going to learn from that person.
And Ricky, how would you define those two things?
I would say perseverance and persistence are basically continuing on the path of your goals and dreams, even when it gets hard. It's going to get hard. And there's a phrase I use: it's not always going to be rainbows and ice cream outside. Sometimes it gets really challenging. And if we practice perseverance, then when it gets a little harder, we can go through the dark times. We can go through the dark clouds. We can get through the rain. There's a phrase that we use a lot. It's not about it never raining. It's learning how to dance in the rain. So that's one thing I want people to take away. And the reason why people should want to take away how important persistence and perseverance is because it will serve you in your life, not only for your sports and your athletics, but for your business. When you guys, maybe start a business or get hired to do a job for somebody else, it will be, in my opinion, the number one skill that anybody can possibly have in this world. So I want to talk a little bit about staying positive and being persistent, but also one of the greatest skills that I think on the face of the planet. And who wants to volunteer and share with me one of their goals or one of their dreams, whether it be athletics or what we got? Okay, what, do you see her?
Angelie, yeah.
Angelie, oh, great name. I like your spelling.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Winning a USA Women's World Cup.
Say it again. Say it again.
Winning a USA Women's World Cup.
Yes, I love that. And you know what? Me and Jason went to college with some awesome women soccer players. So maybe, Jason, maybe me and you can collaborate to get one of those women soccer players on a Zoom with Angelie. So I love that goal. Now, you see her face? I love it. So I'm gonna reach out to some of the women soccer players that I knew, and Jason and I both knew them, and we're gonna try to help you, okay? Now, so to win the Women's World Cup, I love that, because now your dream became part of my dream, and that's what these types of things are all about. That's why I'm honored to be part of David's mission of empowering kids and younger generations to achieve their goals and dreams. Because we know that women in the US have won the World Cup before, correct? Yep. So now, do you think, and go ahead and unmute yourself, or David, unmute her again.
Yeah.
And Angelie, do you think that those women who achieve these huge goals and dreams, do you think that they did it all by themselves?
No.
No.
They didn't.
What do you think? Who do you think helped them along the way?
Their coaches, their family members.
Yep. Who else?
Their friends.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Yeah. So coaches, family members, people that you look up to, friends that might be supporting them, they didn't do it by themselves. That's why I think one of the greatest skills on the planet is very simple. Ask for help. Everybody write that down. Ask for help. 3 very simple words that will help you get to your goals and dreams, because somebody on the planet has likely achieved the goals and dreams that you want to accomplish. And if we have 2 choices. We can try to do these things all by ourselves, all alone, which is extremely difficult, or we can activate one of the greatest skills on the planet, which is asking for help. So we can ask for help and have other people help us. And what's incredible about asking for help is that when we ask for help, not only 2 things happen. Number 1, people go out of their way to help you. And then number 2, they feel good, because they feel good when it feels good to help other people, okay? Angelie, does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you like that idea?
Yes, I love it.
You love it? Do you think asking for help is strong and powerful?
Yeah.
Can you write on your piece of paper, I ask for help?
I wrote that.
Okay, great, awesome, I love it.
Big bold letters.
Big bold letters, I love it. And that's so cool, because I ask for help every single day in my life and in my business, everything. I have an hour of a day where I call it ask and attract. Ask and attract. And I simply ask people, do you know of anybody that can help me? So my profession, my mission in the world is to help solve the world's happiness problem. But my business is speaking. So I talk to people, I talk to kids, I talk to different corporations on how they can continue on the path of their goals and dreams. So in order for me to talk to more people, I always ask for help. And I say, do you know of anybody looking for speakers or anything like that, and anything that I do? I simply just ask. Now, here's the thing about asking for help that I want people to remember. Number 1, when you ask, some people will help you and some people will not. It's okay. If some people don't help you, that's okay. Because when we ask for help, It's a very good energy to put out in the world. Does that make sense, Angelique? Okay. So now if they want to help you or if they can help you, that's great too. Either way, we're not attaching our happiness to the outcome of that request. We're simply just asking for help, because asking for help is a very good energy. So regardless if they're able to help us, some people will, some people won't. Some people will be very excited to, some people will just say, no, you know what, I can't help you. Some people may not say anything. Regardless of what you say when you ask for help is irrelevant. It means it doesn't mean anything. Just continue to ask for help, because if you ask enough times, somebody will help you along the way, okay? Does anybody know who Dr. Seuss is? Give me a hand if you know who Dr. Seuss is. So Dr. Seuss is a huge mentor of mine. And I believe one of the greatest books on the planet that deals with this exact thing, persistence and perseverance, is Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. In my opinion, that's the greatest sales book and the greatest book on persistence ever told. Because the Sam I Am, he just keeps asking, would you like eggs? Would you like green eggs here, or would you like them there? Would you want them on a boat, or you want them on a moat? Do you want them over here, or do you want them over there? He just keeps asking. And I think there's lessons in everything. So I want people to remember to ask for help. So I'm going to go through a couple exercises. And then, yeah, David's right. We're just going to have an open Q&A. So start thinking of some questions that you might want to ask me. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might want to ask. You can ask me about anything. You can ask me about sports. You can ask me about life. You can ask me about business. You can ask me about friendship. Anything at all you guys can ask me about, okay? So we're going to do a thing called, in our world, we call it reframing. All that really is, reframing, is just changing a perspective. So I'll give you guys an example. One thing that when I fly around on airplanes a lot, or at least I used to, we'll get back to that when the world kind of gets back to normal. But again, let me just touch on that. I believe right now is the greatest time to be alive, guys. I think it's the greatest time to be alive because we have a time right now where we can acquire new skills. We can get better at what we do. We can expand our minds to what's possible, and we can grow relationships. It can be a relationship with a coach. It can be a relationship with a friend. It can be a relationship with another athlete, anybody. We can talk to people like we've never been able to talk to people, just like we're talking right now. How cool is that? So when we look at reframing or changing perspective, I'm going to give you guys an example of how I use that in my life with something that used to drive me nuts. So I used to get on, and I can sleep really well on a plane. So I would, am I muted? I'm good. I would fly from LA, where I live in Los Angeles, and I would fly to New York. Now, I would get on a red-eye flight, which means I get on the plane at like 11 o'clock at night. And then I would just kind of pass out. I'd sleep really well on a plane. But then what drove me up the wall was I would start to sleep, and then a screaming baby would go start crying and wailing behind me in the seat right behind me. So I see people laughing. Amir, do you know what that's like? I see you smiling. Can you unmute yourself for a second?
So my mom and dad are very, very, like, my mom is a deep sleeper. She won't get awake that easily. But my dad is a very, very light sleeper. So if he hears one noise in the house, he'll just go, what? What's happening? So that's kinda... he can't be asleep for that long on a plane.
Gotcha.
He's on and off. So
gotcha. Okay. So I'm similar to that. So when I don't sleep well, I'm like, oh, I start to get stressed out. So when a screaming baby would go off behind me, I would be like, oh boy, and I would get stressed and I would get angry, and I would literally get I would get tense, and I would be like, I can't sleep. And when I learned about what I want to write down, if you guys can spell this, self-accountability, that is another great trait, self-accountability. And if you're not sure how to spell it, just ask. But when I learned about self-accountability, then what I learned was it wasn't the baby that was freaking me out. It was me that was freaking me out. And then I said, Ricky, how can I reframe this? How can I look at this challenge that I'm having in a different perspective? And I said, well, I can hear the baby, and who here knows what it means? Give me a wave and you can unmute yourself. Who here knows what it means to be deaf? Does anybody know what it means to be deaf? I see Colin. Colin, can you unmute yourself? Or Dave, can you unmute him?
Yeah, you're on, Colin.
What does it mean to be deaf?
It basically means can't hear anything, and yeah.
Yeah, great answer. So it means that we don't have the sense of hearing. You know, some of the basic senses of life is seeing and hearing and feeling and smelling, these senses. And I started to think, I'm here complaining that I'm hearing this baby, but then I said, well, wait, there's probably a lot of people that don't have this sense of hearing. And I said, man, I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I have this sense of hearing, and people would probably feel so fortunate to hear what I'm hearing, and here I am complaining about it. So I reversed it, and I said, I am grateful for the screaming baby on the plane because it means that I can hear. And I felt all different. I felt great. I felt empowered. I felt happy. I felt positive just because the way that I switched up the way that I was looking at that. And that's how I've changed my life in terms of when challenges come. So right now, a lot of people on the call may not really understand what's going on in the world. And so I deal with a lot of adults sometimes that are kind of freaking out the way that I was freaking out on the plane. And when people ask me about it, I say, well, look, I think it's the greatest time to be alive because I think it's a great time to acquire new skills, to work on our skills. Also, that's a great time to grow relationships and work on our minds. When you guys want to be athletes, you can ask any athlete. You can ask the greatest athletes that ever lived, Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan. You guys are too young to remember them. But whatever your favorite athlete is right now, I promise you, they would tell you that mindset and working on your mind is one of the most powerful things you can do, not only in athletics, but in your life, okay? So that's just an example of how reframing works or perspective changing can work. And we can do it every day if we practice. So whether you play baseball or soccer or any way that you go about it, we go to practice, and we practice what we play to get better. Well, it's the same thing with your mind. Your mind is actually an organ, but it acts like a muscle. So if I practice every single day about sharpening my mind and choosing a perspective that makes me feel better, it doesn't matter if I'm 7 years old or 70 years old. That will help me for my life, my athletics, my business, and those of the people that I love. And now when I do this, I get to live a happier life, in my opinion, because it serves us to reach these goals and dreams because people will want to help us. There was a guy named Stephen Hawking, and he's widely regarded as one of the greatest thinkers that ever lived. And he said, when people complain, nobody wants to help you. And we all just said that, hey, we have these goals and dreams. We all have these goals and dreams. And we can either choose to do everything ourselves, or we can have people help us. So a great way to have people help us is to stay positive. Now, when the challenges come, I'm not saying not to voice those challenges. We should talk about the challenges, but think about how we can persevere and be persistent in spite of those challenges. So when our girl Angelique wants to be a women's soccer champion, I promise you one of the greatest things that she can do is work on her mind to stay persistent and get help from people that love her and people that care about her, people that want to see her succeed. And I think it's one thing as an athlete, we should want other athletes to succeed because it brings goodness into our lives. Don't wish for people to do bad. Wish people to do good. And I'm going to explain that here in a little bit. So this is a really high level conversation, okay? Now I want to bring on, who wants to volunteer with me to come on as I explain this lesson? David can pick a volunteer to come on, and I want to ask you some questions.
I'm going to pick Luke.
All right, Luke, my man. How's it going, Luke?
Good, how are you?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for coming. Okay, so there's a thing called energy. When I say somebody has really great energy and high energy, what does that mean to you?
They can do things for a long amount of time, and they could be very positive.
Yep. And if you think people are positive and they can do things for a longer amount of time, do you think that helps them in their life?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we look at energy, this is a really high level conversation, but energy actually starts from the inside out. And our mind can help us create this energy. Okay. So when we look to create energy, I want to go to a place that makes me feel good so I can create that energy. It's called metaphysical energy, okay? Now, a great way to create that energy, Luke, can you tell me a time where, do you play soccer or baseball, Luke? What's your favorite sport?
Soccer.
Soccer, okay. So when you play soccer, do you remember a game that you had where Luke would just kick butt, man? He maybe had a couple of goals or a couple of really good plays, or maybe he got an award after you got an award after the game. Can you picture one of those games that you've had in your life?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me when that was?
It was about 6 months ago.
Can you tell me who you were playing and kind of what happened about it?
I was playing a team in Texas. It was 2 hours away. It was in the I was playing decent the second half. The first half, my bad. But in the second half we were losing.
Mhm.
I scored a hat trick in the second half and we won.
3 goals in the second half and you guys won the game? That is awesome. Okay, let's give Luke one of these. That is 3 goals in one half is pretty awesome. Okay, so Luke, what was the name of the team that you were playing then?
I do not remember.
You don't remember? Okay. Do you remember when you scored that third goal in that second half and you guys won the game? Do you remember how you felt?
I felt very happy.
Very
proud.
happy and proud. Happy and proud. Happy and proud. Happy and proud. Do you think, Luke, when you feel happy and proud, do you think it's easier when you're happy and proud to stay persistent towards your goals and dreams?
Yes.
Okay. Now, about 6 months ago, Luke, so you have this experience, right? Now, I want you to think of that time, and I want you to think of how happy and how proud you were and the people around you. Was anybody there from your family or your friends?
Yes.
What did they tell you after the game?
They congratulated me.
Okay.
And
Yeah. And so when you got congratulated, you won the game, you scored 3 goals, you scored a hat trick in the second half, you felt happy, you felt proud. That, when you feel happy and proud in that energy, now, when you can put yourself in that state, when you can remember that, I want you to go to that place when the challenges come. So those are all really what we call high energy, or some people call them high frequency or high vibration states of mind. Does that make sense?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now we have another time. Now, Luke, do you remember maybe a time where maybe you had a cold or you were coughing, you just didn't feel good? Have you had one of those times?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you're kind of feeling down, or maybe you didn't have a good game and you're just kind of bummed out, you know that type of energy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I have a very good high energy and then I have a low energy. Make sense? Now, if I take that high energy, I scored 3 goals, we won the game, I felt happy, I'm proud, I got congratulated, I'm really excited. If we take that energy and we smush and we put it all over the low energy, which one do you think wins?
The happy energy.
The happy energy. So now, Luke, do you think it's possible to go through life without any problems, any challenges at all? Or do you think you'll have some problems and challenges as we go along?
You will.
We will, right? Okay. So I want you, when you have challenges in your soccer life or in your life, you can remember how great Luke is. You can remember how Luke scored 3 goals. You can remember how you were congratulated, how you felt happy and proud, because then you can use that to trigger your mind to go over the challenges and stay persistent towards your goals and dreams. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now that's just a little exercise, Luke, where you can use what I've mentioned, the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known, our minds, to be able to get through the challenges. Because I'm telling everybody here, the challenges are going to come. And what we call a challenge storm is going to come. It's not about it not coming. So when you guys don't feel great, that's okay. Ask for help. And remember that we all have greatness within us. We all have what Luke described. We all have these times where we can go to. It's just in society, a lot of times, people don't go to the good times. They go to the bad times and they keep thinking about the bad times and the bad times and the bad times and the bad times. They don't remember how great we really are. So that means that we stop being persistent. And everybody agreed earlier in the call that being persistent can help us get to our goals and dreams. So Luke, next time that you go through a challenge or maybe you're not feeling so great, you can go back to that time and just remember how great you are. Does that sound good, Luke?
Yes, sir, it does.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, hey, I want to welcome everybody. My mom and my dad are on the call. How cool is that? So the coolest thing about being alive is you can have training calls and your mom and dad can come. So mom and dad, that's Jason. You guys met him at Wake Forest. He played second base for us. But so I want to share, now that my mom and dad are on the call, there was a time where I wanted to quit one of my baseball teams. We weren't doing so good. And, you know, I wasn't playing well and I had hurt my shoulder and I played in the outfield and I played first base and I was a pitcher. And I didn't want to play anymore. And I was like, I don't want to play. And I was in that low energy state. And then my parents were like, keep playing, Ricky, keep playing, because that's where toughness comes from. And they made me play the whole season. Now, I didn't understand it at the time, but my mom and dad made me keep playing to teach me persistence and to teach me perseverance. And that lesson, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I still use it today. So that's what I want people to understand. The reason why we should want to understand these things is because, in my opinion, we live a greater life when we stay persistent, and we live a greater life when we stay perseverant. So I've gone through it too. We're all going to have challenges, and we live in a world sometimes where people don't want to talk about the challenges. It's okay to talk about the challenges. Remember, the number one skill: ask for help. As long as we ask for help, whether it's in our business, whether it's in athletics, whether it's in our personal life, even when we're just feeling down, if we just ask for help, it's a good energy to put in the world, so we can take that high, positive, awesome energy or frequency or vibration and smush the low energy, and the high energy will win if we use it. Okay? Does that make sense, everybody? Can you go like that? Awesome. Okay. So the good energy can smush out the bad energy. And then what we are able to do is we create a way for us to really start to create this on a daily basis. Now, I'm going to share with you kind of one of my favorite things. What I do every morning to keep my mind sharp is I have what's called a morning routine. Okay. Does anybody know what a morning routine is, or anybody want to take a I see Thomas up there. He's raising his hand real fast. Thomas, or David, can you unmute Thomas?
Yes.
Hi, Thomas.
Hello.
Can you tell me what you think a morning routine is?
It's I think a morning routine is like something you would do every single day for like many days.
Yes, yes, yes. That is why I always get help from you guys, because I think kids are the eternal optimists, and I'm always learning from you guys because you guys keep it simple. That is exactly right. I also like your shirt. What does your shirt say?
Savage skills.
Okay, so I'm going to teach you one of my savage skills. Is that okay? Okay, so my morning routine, and I'll send this if you guys would want it. I'll just send it to David, and David can give it to you guys. But you see this right here? This is a poem that I read every single day. Literally every single day I read this poem. And my favorite word is gratitude. Go ahead and write that down. And David's got one too.
This
And
is mine.
you can write down gratitude in the chat box if you're not sure how to spell it. But gratitude is one of my favorite words. Now, Thomas, do you know what gratitude means? Okay, so gratitude means when you're like thankful for something, when something makes you feel good, kind of like Luke was thankful and felt good and happy and proud when he made that hat trick and scored those goals to win the game in the second half. It's just something that you're happy about, that you're thankful for. You know the holiday Thanksgiving? So what do people, go ahead and unmute them, David. And what do people do on Thanksgiving, Thomas?
They celebrate like all they're happy and they thank for like what they're happy for and stuff.
Isn't that cool? Now, what do people in your family on Thanksgiving, can you remember some of the things that people say that they're thankful for?
They are thankful for their life that they have and their family and all the food that they have.
Awesome. And how many times a year does Thanksgiving happen?
One time a year.
Yeah, and I think that's a challenge in the world. The way I look at Thanksgiving is every single day. Every single day, I remind myself through this poem that there's so much to be thankful for. There's so much to be grateful for. And the way that I look at that is we all woke up today. We all have one of these. What's that called? It's called a pulse. That means we get a chance to do some awesome stuff. So I wake up every day being grateful. And one of on mine is I'm grateful for my mom, my dad, and Ceci. That's my sister, because they show me a great way to live and a great way to love. So one thing I would share with people is to write down something every single day as a morning routine of what you're grateful for or what you're thankful for. It's very, very simple to do. It doesn't take much time. It doesn't cost anything, and it's in limitless supply. So one thing that I do when I'm grateful every day, it's real simple, because my mind, remember, the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known, my mind cannot be grateful and fearful at the same time. So that means if I choose gratitude, if I choose to be grateful, if I choose to be thankful, now it starts me on the path of getting my state of mind in a place that will help me in my career, it'll help me in athletics, it'll help me score 3 goals and be happy and proud and congratulated. But also, if that doesn't happen, because some days, not every day we can score the hat trick in the second half and win the game. It's just not going to happen every day. So the days that it doesn't happen, I can still remind myself to be grateful for something. Maybe I lost the game, and maybe I learned a better way to play defense, or maybe I struck out 3 times in a game and people got me out with the same pitch. And now I know through my coach, just like a great coach like David or Jason Aquilante, the coaches can teach me how to work on that. I develop a new skill because of the failures. So let me come back to Angeline. If you can unmute yourself, Angeline, one thing I want to identify with your magnanimous dream of being a World Cup women's soccer champion, do you think those girls, those women got there without any failures, or do you think they had a lot of failures along the way?
I've read so many books about them, and they made lots of failures. Like, they didn't make teams. They had lots of failures.
Yeah, lots of failures. So failure, it's nothing to be afraid of. In fact, I can make the argument, the more you fail, Angeli, the more you're going to get to your goals and dreams. It's just simply feedback. And what I mean by feedback is, if I'm a baseball player and I strike out 4 times in one game, and maybe it's all on the same pitch, it tells me that failure is just telling me I got to work on hitting that pitch. So I work on that skill, and I develop that skill through asking for help, through my coaches and through my mentors. Mentorship, write that down. If you don't know how to spell it, David can write it in the chat box. But mentorship, we all want to find mentors. And mentors can be anybody that increases your quality of life. It can be somebody older than you. It can be somebody younger than you. I look at all of you as my mentors, because I learn things from you every single day. So find mentorship. So when we look at failure, the world is so scared of failure. And people think failure comes from weakness. It does not. Failure comes from strength. So does asking for help. Write this down. Asking for help comes from strength. Asking for help comes from strength.
This is so important, Ricky, because sometimes a lot of us, we feel like our dreams aren't valid enough, or they're too big, or someone will call us silly for having such a crazy dream. But we have to be able to ask for help so that we can get to that goal we've set for ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If someone calls you crazy for having a big dream, tell them thank you. I appreciate that, because that is motivation. I believe I can. Write that down. I believe I can. I believe I can. And I'm going to give you a line from one of my dear mentors, and we've turned her name almost into a verb. And her name is Amy Sorter, and she is one of the most persistent women that I know. So we call it ASP, Amy Sorter Persistence and Perseverance, okay? And what she says, in a world that says I can't, I find my path to I can. So that's from Amy Sorter, a dear friend of mine. So that's something now, Angeli, as you go down this road, when we fail, it's okay. Failure is simply, remember we said earlier, a setback is a setup to gain new skills. The more skills we acquire, the better chance you are going to be a women's soccer champion. Here's another thing. I'm wearing one of my dear mentor's favorite shirts, which is called Impact Theory, and his name is Tom Bilyeu. And what he says is that the struggle is guaranteed. The challenge is guaranteed, but the success is not. So we want to keep being persistent and perseverant in through our goals and dreams. And the way that we do that are the things that we're talking about today. Finding a word that we're grateful for, finding things that we're grateful for, learning to convert energy from negative to positive, ways to be persistent, ways to ask for help and stay persistent and perseverant.
Now, I love that, Ricky. I just want you to repeat that one more time. I really want my players to write that down. If you guys are struggling, it's so important to stay persistent every day. And that setback is a setup for something even better to come. Like that story of Michael Jordan. He didn't make his high school team. That set him up to build those training habits that would make him the best basketball player the world has ever seen.
And I think this is hilarious because we didn't even plan this, but I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you 4 people that talk about persistence that have failed a lot. And that is so funny. I swear we didn't even plan this, but I'm going to share my screen right now. And what I'm going to show you guys is this right here. What David just said. David, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Michael Jordan. He is widely regarded as the greatest basketball player ever to live in the world. And he says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. So all I'm going to do is listen to the great mentors that have come before me. And mentorship can be somebody that you know, maybe somebody you don't know. It can be somebody older. It can be somebody younger. It can be somebody that's alive. It can be somebody that lived 100 years ago. But I want people to seek mentorship. Here's another one. Now, when we look at Wayne Gretzky, he's widely regarded as one of the greatest hockey players that have ever lived. And what he says is you miss 100% of the shots you never take, which means if we don't even try, we'll never know whether we would have succeeded or whether we're not. So me personally, I would rather try and fail and learn and grow and continue on the path of my goals and dreams than never have to try it at all. But people don't try because they get scared. And that's one thing, again, why we can ask for help and why we should want to ask for help. Now, another one, this guy is called Walt Disney. Now, Walt Disney is from, wait, did I share my screen?
Oh, no, unshared.
Unshared. I am going to share again. Okay. So perfect. Walt Disney, this guy built Disney World. So if you guys know Disney World, Disneyland, this is the guy that created it. He's no longer with us, but he was fired from his newspaper for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. And the guy has changed the course of human history through his imagination and original ideas. So that's even another person. He went on to win 22 Academy Awards. And Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors of all time, he invented the light bulb. Everybody's on a computer, which essentially came from the start of the light bulb. And he says, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that will not work. So I think that's a great reframe or re-perspective that kept him on the way to his goals and his dreams. So that's one thing I just want to share with you guys, that there's been a whole bunch of people, the more that they've failed, the more that they've succeeded. Show me somebody who has never, ever, ever failed. And in my opinion, they haven't done a whole lot. If I haven't failed in a week, a month, I don't think I'm pushing myself enough, because I know that I can ask for help. And I have people, if I ask for help, some will help, some won't, but I'll keep asking because that's how much I want to persist and persevere towards my goals and dreams. Okay. And Angeli, what is your favorite word? Can you tell me your favorite word?
Is it sports? Is it?
It can be anything.
Your favorite word.
Athletic.
Athletic. Okay.
I
So
mean the FIFA World Cup trophy.
okay, I love it. I love it. We'll put a bunch of words there. FIFA World Cup trophy. What does that phrase or word mean to you?
It means a very successful, with many fails, but a very successful thing. Because in the FIFA World Cup, anything can happen and fail.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So what I want people to do, and Jason, also, if you can unmute yourself, I want to hear from your son as well. And if I just want to know what your favorite word is.
Champion.
Yes, I love it. I love it. If I'm taking notes, I'm gonna write down FIFA World Cup and I'm gonna write down champion. So thank you, Angelique, and thank you, Jonathan. That is great. And I want everybody to write down what is their favorite word. Give it some thought. What does it mean to you? Now you have a little bit of a template to go to. You have something that you can read when the challenges come. Remember, the challenges are gonna come. But if I remember that my greatness is that I am a champion, I'm just going through a hard time, now I can reframe and I have a perspective that can help not only me, but it helps my teammates. It helps my coaches. It helps my team. That's why team sports are the greatest thing in the world, because we get to learn and help from each other. So thank you for everybody participating. And that's just the biggest thing that I wanted to share with people is perseverance will outplay talent any day. I would rather have somebody on my team that is persistent and committed to perseverance than the most talented athlete. I want persistence and perseverance. That's who I want in my companies. That's who I want on my teams. Those are who I want to surround myself with, because I'll get better just by being around them. That's why we should celebrate the success of others, not wish people don't have success. And then also the greatest skill on the planet, which is asking for help. When we do these things, we can create an energy now that we operate under, and it gives us energy. It gives us excitement. It allows us to go out and practice and do all those things that we know we need to do or want to do, but our coaches and our teammates are also doing. And in my opinion, this is how we get better at life. This is how we become a champion in life. So that's one thing that I love, and I love working with kids, because you guys keep it real and you guys keep it simple. Now,
Yes, they do.
I was speaking openly. I was never the best student, but if somebody showed me a way to help the quality of my life, I was all ears. So that's why I also believe I have the greatest parents to ever live, because they allowed me to make my own mistakes, but they kept encouraging me along the ways. Now, some people may have great parents and some people may not, and that's okay, because if we keep asking for help, we can find those people that will encourage us. So that's kind of all I wanted to share with you guys today. I'm happy to do a Q&A, David. We got about 14 minutes left.
Yep.
However you want to moderate that. But you guys are awesome. And you guys have helped the trajectory of my life and helped me feel great and awesome, like a FIFA World Cup champion.
Awesome. Can we all give Ricky a quick round of applause like this? I think there was so many golden nuggets in his talk there that this last one especially, perseverance beats talent. I want you guys to write that down. I have met some of the most talented soccer players ever, and they weren't able to reach certain levels just because they relied too much on their talent and not the hard work that gets you there. Being talented is just less than half of the way to becoming the professional players a lot of us want to be. And I see you guys all writing in the chat. Thank you to Ricky. And if you have any questions, let's take them order in the chat. And if no one's up, just go ahead and raise your hand like that, and we can ask Ricky any kind of question. This is a safe space. I want you guys to not be shy and ask for help, because that's really what Ricky is talking about here. The players that I've seen go the furthest, they don't have one coach helping them. They have an army of coaches helping them. So I see Luke's hand first. While Luke is talking, and Amir, go ahead, just write something down in the comments so I can remember and keep you guys in order. Okay, go ahead, Luke.
What Ricky was your most hardest time? What was the hardest time in your life?
Great question, Luke. So I was fortunate enough to grow up in a great family. I had challenges when I was an athlete of, like I mentioned, when I I had some challenges. I didn't want to finish the season, but I've been fortunate and blessed to grow up into a great family. I'm very close with my mom, my dad, who are on the call, and my sister. One of the biggest challenges I've had, Luke, is in my professional life. I entered into sales, and I think what's also one of the greatest skills on the planet. And I had a time where I rose to ranks in a company when I did really well in sales and I was well known across the country. And then people started asking me to run their companies. And I did that. And I say this because this is still not hard to admit, but I was fired 3 times. I was fired 3 times after I had this success. And then people said I wasn't good enough anymore and they didn't want me around anymore. And there were very specific challenges with that, but I had to call my mom and dad and say, hey, they let me go. I got fired. And then it happened again. It happened a third time. And I really had to practice what I preach. I was embarrassed. I felt bad. Remember how we talked about how sometimes the game doesn't go so good and you feel embarrassed and you don't want to talk to people and you feel down. And I had to really practice what I preached. And I sat down and I said, what am I fighting for? What is it I want out of my life? And I said, I think the world has a little bit of a happiness problem. And I said, I think maybe I can help that. And it's what started my business. But if I hadn't gone through those trials and tribulations and gotten new skills, I would have never have started my business. And I'm happier today than I've ever been. So that was a really tough time. It was a really challenging time to have to tell people that, where I was already successful. And then a company 3 times within 18 months told me, Ricky, you're no good anymore. We don't want you around. And that wasn't easy, but I'm grateful for it. And if it weren't for those challenges, I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing today.
I was just going to say that I'm grateful you had to go through those challenges so that you could serve all of those around you. And Luke, what an awesome question.
Great question.
Guys, I think good questions really set the tone for wherever you are, whatever you guys want to do. So an awesome question like that can give you an awesome answer, right? Okay, Amir, you're next, and then Jason.
Thank you for being here and talking, but my question is, how do you get over peer pressure? Like, if others around you are like pushing you to do something you do not want to do, how do you get over that?
Thank you, Amir. I wanted to ask that question.
That's a great question, Amir. A great question. So I'm going to give you a phrase that you can use if you want to. Now, Amir, let me ask you, we're going to talk about a phrase that you may not understand. Core values. Do you know what core values mean? Okay. So I'm going to give you a little something to use. Go ahead and unmute them, David. So I'm going to give you a little phrase, okay? Now, first, before I give you the phrase, I want to share with you what is something that Amir stands for, something that's a positive light in the world. What is it, something that you feel is very positive that Amir stands for?
I feel like if somebody's feeling down, I can kind of bring their spirit up if they don't really feel good.
Awesome. 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 Okay. So now when people try to peer pressure you, that is not really in alignment or join your kind of core value of helping others feel good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when people come to you and they try to push you and do things that just doesn't feel right, you can simply say, I appreciate that. It just is not part of my core values. Okay. It's just not who I am. It's just not part of my beliefs. It's just not something I want to do, but thank you. It's just not part of my core values. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
How old are you, Amir?
11 years old.
11 years old. Okay. So this is a very high level conversation for an 11-year-old, but my goodness, are you ahead of the game? So when people make you feel uncomfortable, it's okay. We don't have to like kind of fight back with them. We can just say, look, they may not understand what my core values are. I'll give you an example. So when people try to get me to do or sell something, let's just take a product. They're trying to get me to sell a product that I don't really believe in so they can make some money. I appreciate that. It's just not part of my core values. It's just not what I believe in. It's just not for me. Thank you, though. That's exactly how I handle that. Now, you're an 11-year-old, which I love, so people may not understand that, and they may say it again and again. You can just keep repeating the same things. I appreciate that. It's just not part of my core values. It's just not who I am. It's just not what I believe in. But thank you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. That reminds me of a quote that stuck with me when I was younger. If you don't stand for anything, you can fall for anything. So make sure you know what your core values are. I think that's so important. I had a teacher once that made me write down my 5 values. So if you're one of my players, go ahead and write 3 to 5 values, because I'll go ahead and ask you that at our next call. Okay. And does anyone else have any questions? Just go ahead and raise your hand. Anyone? Alec, I see you, and I want to call you out really quick. I want to introduce you to Ricky. Ricky, this is one of my older players. He is such a ball of light and joy, and I just want to introduce you to him because he's one of the older players that's brave enough to get on video and stay on video here. So I just want you to say hi. And Alec, if you want to ask him any questions or just say hi, tell him a little bit about what you're doing right now and what you have planned for the next few months.
Yeah, awesome. First of all, thank you both for having me, and everyone else for joining this call. It's pretty awesome. Right now, I'm really focused on an opportunity that I have, which is going professional in the MLS. I've been to Europe before, a couple other MLS teams. I've gone through a lot of challenges, a lot of you can say rejections, and all this has made me who I am, and I'm extremely proud of who I am, where I'm at. As you said, core values. I'm really big believer in what I'm doing and who I am. And so this opportunity I have is in Columbus, Ohio, and um, it's a very interesting pathway, and I'm fully invested, 110%. I'm doing what I have to do. I'm putting in work that no one else sees right now, and I'm really confident and excited for my future. And yeah, so
Awesome. That's awesome, man. How might we be able to help you?
um, I mean, I guess you can. My question for you would be, what's you or how you deal with your bad days? I mean, I don't have that many bad days, but I guess this could be a question to help other people as well.
Sure.
And so yeah, like how do you deal with the
Yeah.
dark days?
Number one, I always think of, if it weren't for the bad days, we wouldn't know how good the good days really are. So the number one thing I do is, well, I'm grateful for this day, because if all the days were super easy, we wouldn't have appreciation for them. So that's one thing that I always look to. Now, also when I go through a challenging time, I think, hey, there's people out there that love me. And I think there's anybody, we can find a few people that are in our corner that are rooting for us. And I go to them and I'll call them. I say, hey, I'm having a challenging day. Just wanted to talk. I wanted to ask for your help. Can you tell me why you think I'll be successful? So I just ask that question. And then I have a very real conversation with somebody that can help me. So I think we should all be grateful for the challenges, because without the challenges, we wouldn't know how great the awesome stuff is. So Alec, man, awesome. It sounds like you're on a great path, and let us know. And I mean tangibly in your, career, whatever. We have some connections with players, soccer players. So just let David know, however we might be able to help you with connections, or however that you're going about this goal and dream of yours. And if we can help, let us know.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. Yeah, you're great. Awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate
Well, we have about 3 more minutes here, and I want to respect Ricky's time. So if we have one more question, go ahead and raise your hand. Yes, Jason, go ahead. Oh, there we go.
Okay. First off, Rick and Coach David, thanks for putting this together on behalf of the Angels. This has been awesome. So thank you guys for putting this together. Rick, I know that I've seen a couple of your other talks and Facebook, people call you annoyingly optimistic or, unrealistic, probably. I think that's what they say. But how do you deal with people that say those things about you? Because as these kids, they're all young kids, they're going to, screw up sometimes, and people are going to say, "Oh, you stink," or "You can't do that," or "You can't do this." Do you have any words to help encourage these kids better handle that negative chatter?
Yes, yes. That's a great question, Jason. Thank you. And I can take one more question after this. So if one of the younger kids wants to ask, I'm happy to answer another one.
Awesome.
Yes, I want people to write this down. I am obsessed with my potential. Your potential is what we want to tap into. And if we can lock into what our potential is, what our greatness is, it can be a lifetime. But if we're obsessed with potential, getting better, growth, even if we just get a little bit better each day, and sometimes we're going to get worse, that's okay. Then just start the engine again and get a little bit better, little bit better, little bit better. So when somebody comes to me and they call me annoyingly positive, they call me an unreal optimist, and I simply say, I want growth. I'm obsessed with my growth. I'm obsessed with my potential. And I don't want to look at limitations. What I'm going to choose to look at is my potential and the possibilities. Because I know when I do that, again, our brains can't go fearful and grateful at the same time. So that means we choose. Every single second of every single day, we choose. So I just have I have an internal dialogue, not only with myself, but when people ask me these things or they say these things, I just say, look, I want growth. I want to be the best version of me. I'm obsessed with my potential. I think we all have greatness in us, and I'm going to tap into mine. That's okay. If people don't want to, it's okay. No judgment. Not going to get upset with them. I'm just going to continue on the path. And I believe that helps us attract people who are also on that path. And then guess what? We have an incredible tribe of people. We have an incredible friendships of people that we can go to, not only when we need help, but when they need help, we can be there for them as well. That's your question, Jason? If he's still here.
He's muted. 1 second. There he goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Jonathan.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Anyone have one more question for Ricky? Gage, you got a question?
I'm trying to think.
Awesome.
Like, it's hard to like kind of come up with one on the spot, but on like after like a tournament or whatever, and you like consistently didn't play well, is there like just like some things that like you can do afterwards to like reflect on your performance and then like not just like get it out of your head, but just like reflect?
Yeah.
Embrace what you did.
Absolutely. And I don't necessarily want to get it out of my head. And I think that's a great awareness of you, because people just want to block it out. But what I'm just going to ask two questions. What can I learn from this? How can I get better? What can I learn? How can I get better? So if I didn't play well, what was it? Was it a mindset thing? Was it a skill thing? Do I need to try to get a little bit quicker? Do I need to get a little stronger? What is it? How can I learn from this, and how can I get better? If I keep asking myself those two questions, how can I learn from this? How can I get better? How can I learn from this? How can I get better? How can I learn from this? How can I get better? It's a much better empowering question to ask than, why do I have to go through this? If you ask that type of question, you're not going to get an answer. But if you ask, what can you learn? That means I'm going to work on my skill set. If I improve my skill set, now I can get better. If I do that over and 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 over again, then I get to be a champion in my book.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, we do have one more question from Johnny.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Johnny. I'm a goalie coach.
Nice.
And it's a tough thing where I have two goalies and say I respect both of them like a lot, but there's one position. So how can I put that to the other player? Because the problem with goalies, at least in the high school level, sometimes they just quit. Like say they're a sophomore and the goalie above them is a junior. The sophomore will quit and we'll have no one that will help grow the team with them. So I wonder what I can do with that.
So depending on what sport they like, but do you know who Aaron Rodgers is in the NFL?
Yeah.
So he didn't play for about 3 or 4 years behind one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever lived. But yet, because he learned and grew a skill set from Brett Favre, he was able to become now arguably better than Brett Favre. But he learned skills along the way. Now, I'm not sure in your situation if there is an opportunity to play other positions and play goalie. but maybe that's a bonus. You're studying to be a goalie, but you're learning other skill sets as well. That's why I think a lost art today is playing multiple sports. We spend so much time, energy, and money on one sport, where I've talked to a lot of athletes, including Marshall Falk, who's in the Hall of Fame, and he says people should play multiple sports. So what about multiple positions within that sport? Maybe that becomes, that it creates that athlete to be even a better skill set, because now you're learning, you're in training for one position, so you can practice that, but you can also practice the other positions in the field. Maybe that helps them become a better athlete in general.
Awesome.
Make sense?
Great question.
Yeah.
And Johnny, if you want, we can talk more about like a specific situation. I'll be happy to chat with you after. Is there anyone else before we let Ricky go? Okay, let's all say thank you again to Ricky. Massive thank you, Ricky. I can't thank you enough for spreading more positivity and some actionable tools that hopefully we'll all be able to implement in our reflection or in the middle of our games. So I know all the players here really appreciate it. And then if you guys have Instagrams or something, follow Ricky on Instagram. His name is Ricky Mendez Speaks, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And he has awesome videos like this a lot of the time that he posts. So thank you again, Ricky. And then we'll be doing one like this hopefully soon. So if you guys are following me on Instagram or Facebook, I'll post if we have another speaker come on. And hopefully Ricky will be back one day soon.
I would love to take a picture if that's all right, David.
Yes, please.
All right. So can everybody put a thumbs up? Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, guys. This made my day, and thank you so much, David and Jason. Really appreciate you guys, and happy to do it anytime. But you guys lit up my day. Thank you so much. Love you, Mom and Dad.
Awesome, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. Thrive on.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.